Thanks for watching Lessons in Minutes with Jaylee. Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.
In our previous lesson, we have looked at interpreting details in a petty cash book as well as making entries in a petty cash book. This question that you're seeing on your screen was used as the example. We have completed part 1 of this question. If you have missed that lesson, the link is in the description below. What we're going to look at today, as promised, we're going to complete part 2 of this question where you're asked to balance out the petty cash book at the end of October and bringing down the balance at the beginning of November. Then the final thing is for you to reimburse the petty cashier and to restore the Imprest on November 1, 2021. Let us get into that. All right, so here's what we have completed so far in the first lesson, and the entries, the transactions from number 1, October 1st to October 26th were recorded in the petty cash book. Having done that, your next step before we get to what is required by part 2 of the question is that you're going to total the payments column, which is your credit side of the petty cash book, and the different analysis columns. So the payments column is 24 in total. The postage is 6, traveling 6, petrol is 9, and the total for a ledger account is $3. Now, once you have finished entering your totals, you're going to leave the payments column open in that you're not going to double underline that, while the respective analysis columns totals must be double underlined. These totals for the different analysis columns will be posted to the respective accounts in the general ledger for the postage, traveling, petrol. While the ledger account, because it is purchases ledger, that will be posted to J. Brown's account in the purchases ledger. Okay, now in doing your posting, remember what you're doing is completing double entry. I will look at a lesson in posting from the petty cash book to the ledger accounts. All right, now let's continue. We're going to take on part 2, and part 2 you're required to balance off the petty cash book. In balancing off, people, don't think it is nothing different from what you're used to. There's the same process that you take in balancing off a regular account. Your aim is to get both sides to be equal. So we're going to total the receipt, which is the debit, and that gives us a total of $32, while our credit, which is the payment column, is 24. The difference between 32 and 24 is 8. We're going to record that at the end of October, which is October 31st. Our details is balance, carried down, and the amount is recorded on the payment side in the payments column on the credit side, because that is the side that is short, and that is $8. Our next step is to enter our totals on the same level, and our totals are $32. All right, having entered your total in the line below, you enter your balance brought down, and this is at the beginning of November. So that's November 1, balance brought down, and this value is placed on the debit side because our carry down is on the credit side. Basically, our carry down is in the payments column, so therefore our brought down must be recorded in the receipts column. And what this is saying is that what we have in our petty cash balance is $8. So that's what the petty cashier has in the petty cash book at this time. Now, let us move into part 3, and what we are asked to do is to reimburse the petty cashier. When you're reimbursing the petty cashier, basically you're restoring the float, and in order for you to do that, you have to recall what is the float. The float, basically the Imprest, is $30, and what we're doing is to restore this $30. All right. What we have in the petty cash book, the petty cash fund, basically, as indicated after balancing off, we have $8. This $8 is then subtracted from the $30 Imprest in order to give us the value that we need to use to restore the petty cash book. When you're restoring, what you're basically doing, people, is giving back the petty cashier what was spent. We are reimbursing. Just like if someone had spent $100 and came back to you and say, hey, you know, it costs $100 to purchase so and so, you would then reimburse them for that $100. Basically, you might have told the person that, hey, pay for that until you get here. And when the person comes, they say, how much did you pay for it? And the person said $100. And you give that person that $100 back. It's the very same thing that you're doing with the petty cashier. You're reimbursing what was spent in order to take back this Imprest to its agreed float, right? Now, the difference between that 8 and 30 is 22, and this 22 is debited to the petty cash book. So that's placed in the receipts column. Or details is cash. You'll use cash to restore, because basically the amount will be coming from the main cash account, from the main cashier, and given to the petty cashier. If it is that the transaction stated that restore the Imprest using check, so and so, then of course you would use bank as your details. Otherwise, remember, it is cash. Do not use restore Imprest, because remember, your details basically gives you a cross-reference of the other item that is affected by the transaction. And guess what? We don't have any account that is called restored Imprest. Which account is it coming from? Is it coming from the bank account, or is that coming from the cash account? That is what you should show. And in this case, when you look at this, it is basically saying, if you go to the cash account, in the cash book, let me put CB as the folio right there. In the cash book, you will see the other entry, and this entry would be on the credit side of the cash book. All right. Now, this takes us to the end of this lesson. What I'll be doing in another session is to show you how you reimburse the petty cashier and then you balance off. So there are two ways in balancing out the petty cash book, basically. What we have done earlier is one where we balance off and then we reimburse. The other lesson, I will be looking at reimbursing and then we balance off. All right.
Like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.